The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 28th day of June, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sherry, it's Tuesday. How are you feeling today? Two for Tuesday.
Cold. I just ran to get a blanket. If you all knew what went on from the waist on, it would be... Oh my goodness.
This is PG. We're gonna keep it PG this morning, folks.
It's PG today. It's PG today, Jamal. Really.
I don't know. I mean, I try to use PG language, but sometimes, yeah.
It doesn't. But today is great. June's almost over. My birthday party is almost done. We have a long weekend coming up for us.
With Juneteenth and then July 4th, it's like back-to-back holidays, huh?
Yeah, and I was told yesterday I get an extra day off on the Tuesday, so I'm quite excited about that.
Oh, well, I mean, some people just are lucky when it comes to time off, and you are one of them, Sister Sherry.
Yeah, and Mama Patterson will be here to run the Peach Tree Road Race, 4th of July, because she runs marathons in her 70s, her and her husband.
So you running with your mom?
I will be there cheering them on. Good, Mama! Looking good. I'm going to give her one of this.
I don't blame you, Sister Sherry. Sometimes the spectator section is really cool place to be when it comes to running. I'm going to tell you from experience. When Larry Marshall Jr., when he was running and came first in 2007, I felt like I won. I was like the finish line waiting for him, and I'm just like, we did it. Yeah, I claimed it. But anyway, folks, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome former Government Minister, the Honorable Renee Webb, to the show. The Daily Play is a remember when, so Sherry will be guessing slight history. I don't even remember what the question is today, so I can't say whether or not it's going to be.
When we prepare for the show and stuff, I get all excited, and then when you say that, I'm like, oh, right, a test.
Oh. Well, speaking of tests, right? Speaking of tests, we've had some heated shows lately. We've got press releases going out. Rick Olson actually made a comment yesterday that I've heard many times this weekend about Bermudians need to focus on the issues. Actually, Sherry, we should make this the question of the morning.
Okay. I'm done with it.
Let's make this the question of the morning. So Rick Olson said it. Quite a few people have said it in regards to the U.S. and their yes, we're going to have the Honorable Renee Webb on camera, folks. She's backstage on camera. But no, I say that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You know me and my attention. But no, Sherry, stop laughing at me. Let's have this question. I think because a lot of people in Bermuda have had opinions about what's going on in the United States regarding the Roe versus Wade. And then there are a lot of people on the other side in Bermuda. Again, Rick Olson's comment on this show yesterday, Bermudians need to be paying attention to what's going on at home rather than having opinions. Now, I used to always say, I was quite fascinated the way so many Bermudians commented on President Donald Trump when you all don't have leaders that much better. The only difference is you're much closer to your leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not close as in relationship, but you're more likely to walk across your leader than most Americans are to walk across Donald Trump. So I think it's only appropriate to put the question out, Sherry, if you agree, is should Bermudians be concerned about what's going on in the U.S. or focus on what's going on at home? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I truthfully, I think it goes back to what we say all the time. You know, Bermuda, the United States sneezes, Bermuda catches a cold. But I think I completely understand. Bermuda has a mountain of issues for such a small island, a mountain of issues. Many of the United States issues really just come down to money. And when I say money, let's look at Roe versus Wade, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was said yesterday, what's been said over the last couple of days is, you know, all these companies who are saying they'll pay for their employees to, you know, do this and do that regarding the judgment. The question is, well, how many of you companies actually fund the people who allowed this to happen? So really, it's all about money in terms of the political decisions that are being made, the gun rights lobbyists and so on. In Bermuda, I'm not quite sure it's really about money. I think Bermuda has a problem where people who can't find careers, successful careers, are more likely to turn to politics. That's why you have people in politics who have no skin in the game per se. They literally, this is the only credible job that some of them have had. You can't, you know, you can say that. Some people say that about Joe Biden, the current president. He's been a career politician. But all of that said, getting back to the original question is, should Bermudians be more focused on what's going on in their own home versus worrying about the United States and things like Roe versus Wade? What are your thoughts, folks? Do you think Canadians need not be distracted by what's going on in the U.S.? I mean, do we know what's going on in Canada?
Well, first, Jamal, for me, I don't think most people, some people don't understand also the back part of politics in America, the lobbyists and where money and how the money is filtered. It's really a whole serious situation. And so one day we must talk about how that process goes. In addition to, I think that we still go hand in hand. I do still believe that when, like you said, America sneezes, Bermuda catches the cold. We just have had this cold for a very long time. We don't know what medicines to take to fix it. Whereas America, they have different things that they can do to try to rectify the situations. Ours continues to be this long lasting cold that we have caught, and we don't know how to fix it. So yes, should we be focused on our Bermudian issues? Yes, but are they still a trickle down effect from America? I still think so. Now, with that being said, we still need to fix what's going on in Bermuda. We have so many issues, so many concerns, and I think Rick is right. We do still need to focus on what's going on at home before another cold happens and we add it on to what's going on.
Well, Sam Cat Place says it's not about focusing on the U.S. At the end of the day, it affects women in Bermuda as well. We do have issues here, and it's nothing wrong with zoning in on things that can and will affect us. And I agree. I mean, if it's going to impact your life at all, then yeah, you should focus. However, I agree with this comment. Larry Marshall says it's easy to take up a cause from a distance. And I think that's the issue a lot of people have. I call it the march to nowhere. The march that took place after George Floyd down Front Street and through the streets of Hamilton. Like, what was the, you know, we're still after 2 years wondering what was the purpose of that march? What happened after the march? What actions and steps took place? You know, I want to reference something I sent Sherry this morning, and it comes from someone who hates us, Yvette Carnell. She is one of the heads for, what's that group called? ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. They see themselves different from us. And so what she said, and this was in regards to Roe versus Wade. Listen to this. And this kind of goes on what Larry is talking about. It's so easy to take up causes from a distance, but how many have really taken up causes in Bermuda? But she says, while Dems and leftists were in the streets yelling Black Lives Matter over the last 10 years, wait for it, folks, wait for it. Conservative operatives were executing on a plan that would hand them real and lasting power over generations. You see that Supreme Court?
Mm-hmm.
You know how that Supreme Court works? She goes on to say, wait for it. She goes on to say, voting isn't the fix. Not voting is the fix. Not voting isn't the fix.
Mm-hmm.
These are pedestrian fixes for a complex political process with numerous stakeholders and volatile outcomes. Beware of people who offer up quick fixes. They're usually middlemen and women for political party bosses. They are brokers. Why is that important? Because again, it goes back to Larry Marshall's comment. And his comment is very simple. It's easy to take up causes that are not close to home. Why? Because no one in the US knows you.
Right.
It's not going to cause you anything. Like it's not going to cost you anything. Like in Bermuda, you try taking up an issue like conscription at home, where the stakeholders are like these white men in the Bermuda regiment have top jobs. So if you want to get a top job, you have to go do them. It's not risking anything to take up these causes over there. Right. And then with the Black Lives Matter march in Bermuda, right? At the end of the day, you got the whites and the liberals all on board. They walking along the streets with you, probably why it never went anywhere, right? But that's what happens when we take on US issues without purpose. I'm not saying that we should just focus on what's going on in Bermuda and what goes on in the US doesn't impact us. But I want to back to that first comment that I read to you just now. While you all's focusing on these marches and these op-eds and these pieces and Black Lives Matter and all of that, conservative operatives, they're smart. They're intelligent people. They're only dumb to you who disagree with how they go about doing things. But they have real and lasting power. That was my hope for the most vulnerable. That was my hope for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
That was my hope when we got a supposedly government, Black government. At least they used the Black struggle to gain and maintain power. That was my hope for Bermuda under the Progressive Labor Party. But we will not get there if, in the second part of her comment, with pedestrian fixes, with offering quick fixes, with making people believe that having them in power is going to benefit them, even though, question to the premier last week, they don't feel the results. So my answer to this question, should Bermudians be worried about US politics or focus on what's going on in their own backyard? I think we can do both. I think we can do both.
We have to.
However, while doing both, we must understand our role and which one takes precedence over the other. Because there's a lot of issues that have been going on. And I know people say, well, there's work going on behind the scenes, you know, the easy comeback. But for social justice, Bermuda to show up right now, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Jamal, in regards to that. We have to focus on both, as I stated. Like, yes, the US, something happens in the US, it affects Bermuda, but Bermuda takes a long time to recover. Like, COVID came about in March 2020, but we've been dealing with COVID for a very long time. It's been lasting, we're at this lasting cough forever. And like you said, I just want to see results. I want to see something come to fruition in regard to how are we helping us. You know, we have so much going on, and it just seems like it's just we're on this hamster wheel that just continues to go. We're just going around and around in circles. And I get what you're saying. It's not that, you know, Black lives don't matter and all of those kind of things, but what is the end result?
Yeah, I think we
is less Black men getting arrested? Are we shortening sentences for things that are very minimal?
This is why we ask questions like, what can we learn from US politics, rather than what are your thoughts? And the reason I say that is, you know, if you look at Roe versus Wade, what can Bermuda learn? Is what we can learn is what we want to do is we want to put these decisions in the hands of our politicians rather than the courts. But we have to be consistent with it. We can't rely on the courts when things don't go our way. So my belief is that we need to ensure that our politicians are representing our views, our perspectives, our wants, and our needs, so that they deliver the justice or the results that we want. I think it's okay to worry or use U.S. politics as a barometer. I do. I think it's okay to use politics in Brazil or Ghana as a barometer. I think we have to look at, no businessman goes into business and doesn't look at what his competition's doing. No business person goes into business and doesn't consider what another country close by is doing, like their neighbors. So I think it's okay for Bermudians to look at U.S. politics to see where are we going wrong? How can we fix it? How can we avoid that? Right? What they say, you don't have to make your own mistakes to know better. You can learn from other people's mistakes as well. So again, I believe, audience, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Should we be focused on U.S. politics or focus on what's going on in our own backyard? Mark Arthur C. Phillips for Sherry.
Good morning. We need to be aware, but our focus must be passionate about the issues going on in our own country. We're passionate, but what are we doing with the passion? Yeah. Is the passionate is yes, a feeling, an emotion, but what is the action behind it? So yeah, I think everyone's passionate about something, and we're standing there at the starting line, like, but nobody's moving.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and it's interesting you say that, Sherry, because I always say passion is the emotion. It's not an act necessarily. So you can be passionate about what you're doing for a living, but if you lack the work ethic, you know what I'm saying? So I get what Mark's saying, but I completely support what Sherry's perspective on that. Look, Bermuda has issues, and the way that we've responded, and again, I'm not picking on social justice Bermuda, I'm not, but they released something about abortion in Bermuda, right? A press release, and I'm sure Leanna will speak about it in her news break. But on the front page of the Royal Gazette today, and I'd rather have Zach on to discuss it, Zach from Lindo's, rather than talking to the audience about it. But he's saying that groceries are going up 8%, if I'm not mistaken. I think, and again, I'm not picking on social justice Bermuda, but I'm just saying this is an example where I think if people would look at that and say, well, okay, yeah, abortion's an important issue that we should be looking at, but you're only writing this in response to Roe versus Wade, right? But what about inflation? The government's been talking about it's only 2% because gas prices are low. But then Zach Munna is an actual businessman with skin in the game, is coming out and telling you groceries are going up 8%. I think when people would rather hear, if you're about social justice and have an overall plan, again, this is not criticizing. I'm using you as an example to say, well, what are your thoughts on inflation and so on? And they do have a platform apparently, right? So they may talk about it in there. But that's what I think Larry Marshall's speaking about it being easy to take up a cause from a distance and applying it to Bermuda. Where have the pressure groups been for this government? Why is it that people are reaching out to me and saying, oh, great, you held up the premier? That's not my job. I can't vote. I can't vote in Bermuda. So why aren't you all as passionate asking these questions? Why aren't you putting in the work to get a better Bermuda for yourselves?
And whatever that passion is, or whatever that stance is. Yeah.
But I mean, that's where I think Larry Marshall's talking about. It's easy to take up a cause from a distance. So I believe both can happen. But Sherry, I don't know. It's an interesting one because it's not something new.
We're in interesting times, Jamal. From 2 years ago. I say from 2 years ago, I'm using the pandemic, but it's been highlighted in these last 2 to 4 years, possibly what's been going on all of this time, right? And we're in interesting times. And as you said, we are all passionate about something, but the work ethic behind it is what really is the part that we need to instill within ourselves. We are all
Mhm.
passionate about everything, but we're just sitting here, excited, right?
Yeah.
And so we must, and it doesn't mean to march. It means to do something that's going to be a long lasting effect. And
Again,
what that is, we need to do something about.
and because you said that, I want to wrap it up here. Just go back to the comment that Yvette Carnell wrote on Twitter. She said, while Dems and leftists were in the streets yelling Black Lives Matter over the last 10 years, conservative operatives were executing on a plan that would hand them real and lasting power over generations. Now, I'm not quite sure anyone should have power over a long period of time. I think it's dangerous. I think I would rather governments fluctuate, but that just tells me, saying that tells me that there's something more wrong with our system. That's not necessarily the political parties. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, Sherry, you are right. Passion is one thing, but we need action. Well, Peter Smith sums it up, and this is our problem right here. 99.9% of politicians always focused on the next election, so they never concentrate on long-term plans and objectives. The Republicans in the U.S. have focused on the long game. This is true. This is very true. Like, and thank you, Peter. That's the Republicans. Everything what she said in this tweet, like they literally had a plan. They knew it wouldn't happen overnight. There was no quick fixes or folks.
Yes, Peter.
It's you know what? We've got a guest, and I'm sure she's going to light up the room this morning. So, folks, if you haven't already, you don't want to miss our guest today, the Honorable Renee Webb. I have been a fan from that time. I think it was Dateline or ABC or one NBC. She went, man, I don't know if she remembers this, but they had accused Bermuda when she was tourism minister of using Hawaii pictures or something. I don't know if you all remember that. I don't know why that came to mind just now. Maybe it's because I'm pissed off about Bermuda's tourism product. But anyway, and man, strong Bermudian accent on US TV. And I was just like, I'm a fan. I had never met her at the time, knew nothing about anything. But she was very, her love and passion for Bermuda back then was something. So really looking forward to the conversation about the state of Bermuda politics. So folks, do share this conversation in your networks right now. Let's bring in Leanna, see if she has any thoughts. Lee. Let's see. Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Morning, guys, on this wonderful Tuesday.
Don't you look happy and bright on this wonderful Tuesday?
I do. I feel it. I had a good night's rest. You know, baby is allowing me to sleep sometimes. So
she's moving all
I
about.
take it. Oh, she is active. Oh, she's
a soca baby.
Oh, she is. Oh, most definitely.
Forgive me for asking, but when are you due again?
September.
Oh, yes. How can I forget? I'll probably ask you that again next week and we got that's one special month. I don't know why, but that's just one.
Virgos. I don't know if our audience and anybody out there is a Virgo. I don't know if we have some.
They're my favorite people.
But help me understand Virgo women, please.
Okay.
I will.
We good. We are good. Lee, you ready for the news break?
I am, but I just wanted to weigh in on this really fast.
Give it to us.
You know what? Because like I am for, and I'm not an advocate for, speaking publicly, and that on opinions and everything like that. But what I would like to see is every single time something happens across the pond, we are champions. We are screaming loud and shouting proud. But I'm so glad we're about to have this conversation about the state of Bermuda, because I would like to see more vocalists or people being vocal about the issues that are affecting Bermuda. We're marching and championing on, great causes that are affecting our neighbors across the pond, but Bermuda's in a state as well. And not to say that we haven't come out in droves when necessary or when needed, but I just want to hear it a little bit louder.
Oh, yes, we do.
when it comes to our own issues.
You know, I wish I had a tambourine, but I'm just gonna give you a siren. Calling the police on that. We're calling the police because you're right, folks. I mean, it's come from Liana. Liana don't really get
Not a
anything.
tambourine.
No, and you know what, and that's why I appreciate this platform so much, because it does give our people a voice to be able to express their concerns and speak on it. But this is just one community of people.
Immediately, Liana's bringing it to you all. You better get your act right, Lee. Oh,
Let's go.
I love this. I loved it. You all know I love it. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Jamal and Sherry. And good morning to everyone that's tuned in with us today, including Sherry and Jamal, who is still here with me as I give my news update. I hope that everyone is having a great start to this Tuesday morning. I'm Liana Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Wow. Shock and horror is how activist group Social Justice Bermuda has described people's reaction around the world as America's Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Now, they have added their voices to the issues and said that they support their comrades in the U.S., with the group releasing a statement saying that they are devastated on the decision, which will disproportionately impact Black, brown, poor, LGBT plus or TQ plus, the community, immigrants, and other vulnerable residents in America. Now, they went on to mention the legalities on island and challenges that women face when trying to seek an abortion here in Bermuda. The group said that healthcare is a right and that everyone should be afforded access to the resources needed to stay well. The group said that it is imperative that Bermudians continue to push for an expansion of our rights and fight for a decolonized healthcare system. Now, Social Justice said that they will be meeting with legislators and key headline stakeholders and to ensure that access to all healthcare is protected under Bermuda's Constitution. Now, what can you do? They suggest talk to your MP about the issues that are most important to you, and if you'd like to donate to their cause, contact their main line. In other news, as we mentioned earlier, a supermarket boss has said that inflation in the food sector is now running at about 8%. Now, according to a report in the Daily, Zach Monis, the manager of the Lindos group of companies, said that the store has branches in Warwick and Devonshire and was doing all it could to keep down prices, but increases in overheads could not be avoided. Now, he also said inventory bought at cheaper prices and which could be stockpiled over the epidemic had now been sold, with new stock being brought at higher prices from overseas. Now, according to the Department of Statistics that released their findings last week, food prices in March were about 4.9% higher than a year earlier, with overall inflation running at 2.5%, as other factors brought the headline figure down. Now, Mr. Monis said he agreed with the overall inflation figure, saying that because supermarkets had been stockpiling inventory and buying when prices were cheaper, the rate of inflation was artificially low at the moment. And a 45-year-old man appeared in magistrate's court yesterday charged in connection with the murder of 70-year-old Keith Gordon. Clinton Smith was not required to enter a plea, as the charges must be heard in the Supreme Court. He was remanded in custody and is set to reappear during the Supreme Court's arraignment session on August 1st. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 81 and a low near 75 degrees. Cloud cover is hanging about this Tuesday morning. It will be partly to mostly cloudy with a few passing showers expected this evening. Now, the nearby area of convergence continues to linger in our area. The pattern changes a little as high pressure ridging gradually nudges in from the northeast later today, bringing a return of drier weather and brighter skies at times. However, there still exists the chance of a few showers through the late week, while it remains very humid, and 87% humidity to be exact. That's all for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
You know, Lee, it's a good thing Sherry weren't picking her nose when we went to the news break. You know.
He is
Are they
something
staying
else.
with me today?
Liana, I text that to him. His
Yeah.
is such a
Yeah.
copycat.
And look, his Dawn and his food, and it's like, oh.
I looked up and I saw, and I was like,
I thought he heard me, but I was saying, oh, and Jamal and Sherry's gonna stay with me today
I
for the
did.
news
That's
break.
why I switched it.
yeah, that's what he did.
It's
But
okay.
It happened.
Human error. Human error, you know?
Yeah.
he's human.
He's human.
Well, guess what, guys? Today is, and I know Jamal doesn't have this, International Body Piercing Day.
Okay.
Throughout the world, body modification has been used for many purposes, from self-expression to rites of passage, shock value, and even religious observances. There has been a growing movement in the Western world driving body modification to the forefront of popular forms of expression and self-decoration. The history of body piercing isn't clear, as there is a lot of misleading information out there, but there are significant indicators that there has been practice both men and women since prehistory. Body Piercing Day is an opportunity for you to find a new way to express yourself with this age-old practice.
So what's considered body piercing?
Well, piercing your ears is still a body piercing, but
Nose piercings.
Nose piercings
Well,
at the other side, and I have ear.
I was
my
thinking
lobes
about getting my nose done like Tupac, because Tupac had it done. So I'm gonna go probably check that out. What you
I
think?
can't even see you doing that, Jamal.
I just wanted to know
Even
if you
the
were serious
joke doesn't
just now,
seem real.
I was for it. I was like, what, Mal? You can get some edge to you?
I'm gonna get a nose ring.
The joke doesn't even sound real, Lee.
It's lying.
But I have
lying.
Like, I just do my ears. I wanted to do my tongue so I could lose some weight at one point. But then I was like people
I've had my first share of body piercings, I want to say.
I believe you, Lee.
You know
You
what?
did your tongue, right?
I did not. I did not.
Lee, have a good Tuesday. Yeah, this beyond me. Just have my ears done, folks. That's it.
All right, season Jamal.
Uncle Mal.
Uncle Mal.
Later, Lisa. Have a great one.
Bye, guys.
All right, folks. We've got a break coming up. Then we've got the Honorable Renee Webb coming on. Good conversation coming up. You don't want to miss it. Like I said, share it with your people. It'll be better than the premier. Yeah, I said it.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors, and not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Soltis bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed on our website so you don't miss a chance for updates, promotions, prizes, and more. Also, if you're on the go and you can't watch, that's okay. You can download the BCG Radio app where you can hear everything that we and our guests have to say. It's available on Android and Apple devices. Download it today. Sherry,
Yes,
we've got a guest. You ready to welcome our guest in today?
I have. I've never met her before, so I'm excited.
Yes, I'm sure she shares that excitement in meeting you too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, let's bring in the Honorable Renee Webb, folks. Good morning, madam. How are you?
Good morning, Jamal. How are you? Good morning, Sherry. I
Good
haven't met
morning.
either of you, but I feel like I know you.
Well, that's
Thank-
not quite true. I guess I'm not memorable when you walked in to a Hot 107.5 Fat One Hot from the Streets, in which I hosted, and you were a guest on my show. All right. So,
Oh, okay. That's right. All
yes.
right.
Well, that sounds about right. Not memorable, but
Yeah.
you remember me, and that's all that matters to you.
Yes.
Ain't nobody remember you, Sherry. But anyway, good morning, Honorable One. Real quickly, before we get into the conversation, do you remember what I mentioned regarding the Hawaii situation?
I do remember I had just become Minister of Tourism, and that was already on the table. So Michael Ducuto at the time, who was in charge of marketing, said, Minister, you have to go to New York and you have to be on, what was the name of the guy? It was a really popular show.
Yes.
But anyway, I had to go on his show to defend the fact that Bermuda had used some photos that apparently was a beach in Hawaii rather than Horseshoe Bay.
Yep. I remember, but I just remember it was the first time for me, and I was much younger at the time, but I remember it was the first time I heard such an authentic Bermudian accent on TV, like just defending our name. It was something that you just don't see today, even. You don't.
No.
So it was memorable for me. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us for a conversation. I'm just going to come right out the blocks and ask you, as a former government minister, former PLP MP, what are your thoughts about the current state of Bermuda's politics?
I think it's very challenging right now, Jamal. We have, unfortunately, members of parliament who are not particularly experienced in leadership, in business, in economics, or even politics. And so we have challenges in the cabinet. One of the things that I did, knowing that I was going to go into politics, I got a degree in political studies, and I also got a degree in economics because I knew that it was important that we understand what makes a political system work, what makes a country work, how do you look at budgets, how do you analyze and make decisions based on statistical analysis rather than emotions, which is what we tend to do in Bermuda. We're going to build a hotel because it's going to employ 700 people. Okay, that might be the case, but where's the statistical analysis for me or the public to embrace it? So we have challenges in Bermuda for sure when it comes to politics. The opposition isn't particularly better, so I don't know what we do and what we should do in Bermuda aside from get more qualified people to run the country. But because I think also politicians tend to get attacked and your decisions are questioned and friends and family nonsense and all of that, people don't want to be bothered. So I think Bermuda's in a situation where we're not where we should be in terms of having a government that runs the country. And also, it's not only the government's fault, it's also us as the electorate and the people. We have expectations that the government should fix our lives and that the government is there to give you a handout. Well, the government isn't there to give you a handout, it's to give you a hand up to help you to better yourself, better your life for that, and you and your family. And it's government rule to find out how you do that, best to do that, of course. So I think we're in a catch-22 situation, actually, because you have Bermudians who very often, I mean, I heard about, people standing up for Roe versus Wade. I have no problem with that, but that's so typical. We have a lot of issues here that people don't stand up for. And those of us who do, we get shut down or whatever, we got ulterior motives. It's very challenging in Bermuda to be a politician. And so a lot of people who could be more eligible and more capable don't get involved. And those of us who are qualified and could get involved to help, we're not wanted.
Well, you said so much that, everything I kind of agree with. I want to go back because a video was shared with me yesterday and it's making the rounds in Bermuda. It's a gentleman speaking of we should make sure that our politicians go to school to get a degree in politics. And I had no idea that you actually studied it. But we spoke about experience and a lack of, one of the things I've noticed about the current cabinet and just politics in general is it seems like there's people with no skin in the game making decisions, right? I, like you, don't believe that we should be relying on the government to give us anything. They are there to set policies and legislation so that we can make the best decision for ourselves. That's how politics should work, in my opinion. But I'm challenged to figure out, how do we move from this current space, knowing how the mindsets are. We spoke about earlier, not sure if you were tuned in, about, should Bermudians be focused on what's going on in the US or focus on the issues closer to home, right? It's so easy, as Larry Marshall said, to take up these causes overseas, but how can we get Bermudians so excited? And to your comment at the end there, when we do start taking on issues at home, we get labels. I mean, the latest label, tell me if you're always ready for a laugh. Let me get my laughing emoji ready. The latest I've heard about myself is I'm an operative for the One Bermuda Alliance. Now, I can tell you, I dislike the OBA as much as I like the PLP, if not more. Folks, just because one is doing us wrong and we're speaking out doesn't mean we're for the other. Like, let's mature here.
Exactly.
Let's politically mature. But all of what you just said, how do we move from that space? Because I don't think it takes, I'm not smart, I'm not a genius, I'm not a scientist, I'm none of that stuff. But even I can see that decisions are being made with people with no political understanding, no business experience, no understanding on leadership. Because leadership, and I'm sure it's about leading people and personality and ensuring that you're giving people the opportunity to have the best chance to succeed. Sir Alex Ferguson, former manager of Manchester United, said, my job is literally to give these players the best opportunity to deliver results. But how do we move from this space we're in?
Well, first of all, I think one of the issue is that as Bermudians, there's an expectation that I have to get what I want because I'm a Bermudian. So Bermudians need to put skin in the game in terms of understanding that, yes, government is here to lead you. However, you have a role to play as a Bermudian as well in ensuring that your government is representative of what you want. I mean, for me, yes, I've been a PLP politician. Yes, I've been a PLP supporter. But for me, Bermuda always has come first. I mean, that's why I got involved in politics. That's why I studied political studies and economics and business and owned businesses even, because I knew one day I was going to be leading in my country, one of the 12 leaders of the cabinet at the time. And I realized that I had to know how things work. Well, even then, I mean, we had the first cabinet's the strongest the PLP's ever had. That's without question. You had Lewis Brown Evans, you had Jennifer Smith, you had Dr. Ewart Brown. You had a strong cabinet initially, Arthur Hudson, etc. So we had people who had experience, who had run things, who knew how things worked. And that's very important. You have to have experience as a leader. How are you going to lead people when you don't have a clue yourself in terms of how things function? And I think that's one of the weaknesses that we have. And how we move, how do we move from it? Well, people have to have higher expectations of the politicians. Don't just vote for somebody because they're a nice guy. Are they able to represent my interests in Parliament? Are they able to look out for me? Will they understand what it is I feel as a mother? How I feel as somebody who is being marginalized in my community? How are they going to address all of those issues? Well, what we have now, we have people that are incapable because they're not experienced in those areas. And I'm not beating up on the politicians because, of course, I'll get attacked, but so be it. I create my own reality. I have no concern at all in terms of what people think of me. I don't wake up every day wondering who likes me and who dislikes me. It doesn't even, isn't part of my reality. But my reality is I live in a country that needs help. And where do we get the help? Where do we get the help? How do Bermudians want to get up and hold the leaders accountable? And that's what's happening. The media is not holding the leaders accountable. I mean, if you look at civil society, they're not holding people accountable. Now, I happen to hold people accountable individually because I talk to the premier when I'm ready, when I have to tell him off, I call him, he gets tired of seeing my WhatsApps, of course. I do that with ministers. I call them up. What do you think of this? Why, question things. I mean, that's what people should be doing rather than just complaining about each other. We're a nation of whiners and complainers very often when we can do much better. Bermudians are lovely people. I love my people. I mean, that's why I got into politics in the first place.
Well, I want to go back. I want to go back to something you said though, because you said the PLP, the first cabinet, was the strongest. Well, we recently had the premier on, as you know, David Brett, on the show, and I had asked him if he believes that the founders of the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party would think, you know, what would they think of the job he's doing? And based on his answer, he believes it's fulfilling the promise of the founders of the party. What do you think about that?
It's not reality. I mean, if you look at, let's look at the whole same-sex issue. Let's look at the human rights issue around sexual orientation, for example. Lois Brown Evans, Freddie Wade, educated people, they supported human rights through and through, including for people who had a different sexual orientation, whether they were gay, homosexual, bisexual, LGBT plus. The point is they believed in equality. And this government took it upon itself to go as far as England to take away the rights of Bermudians. I have a same-sex partner, and I have no problem saying I have a same-sex partner. If I want to marry my same-sex partner, it is my business, and I should be able to do it in my country. I shouldn't have to go to England or somewhere to get married, because I live in a country that decided that, you know, you're not quite normal, so you cannot be a part of the equal rights of everybody else. And I know what the religious people believe, and it's fine, believe it. If you don't want to marry a same-sex person, don't do it. But for God's sake, for those who want to, they should be allowed to. I mean, Bermuda has to be much more liberal when it comes to equality. We're talking about a people who were discriminated against because of the color of their skin. And they have decided that they are going to discriminate against people because they have a different sexual orientation. It is madness. It's absolute madness. And it makes no logical sense that we would spend all that money while the public sat by and said, okay, yeah, let's discriminate against that group because that's the new group now. It's not a Black people anymore, but we got to find somebody to discriminate against. I mean, this is not acceptable in a country that holds us up as being first world country, and we have international business, etc. All of that is all very well and good, but Bermudians need to look at how do we treat the least of us. That's what we need to look at.
Yeah.
Wow. You're a former tourism minister, as we spoke about earlier. What are your thoughts on Bermuda tourism today? And I want to ask you, as direct as possible, the departure of Charles Jeffers II.
I don't understand why. I'm not sure why Charles left. I can guess why he left, but I'd rather not speculate unless I know for sure. But Bermuda, look, not just Charles. You have a number of people who have left the department recently. You had Douglas, what's his last?
Douglas Trueblood.
You had Douglas Trueblood. You had the girl who left with him. I mean, you had the tourism department itself is in need of some work. Now, when it comes to tourism itself, I mean, the TA has been a problem. Travel authority, that people are got to fill out some form to come to Bermuda. That's an issue. People are fed up, and it's affecting tourism for sure. Because if I go online and I see it's so easier to go to another island, why am I going to go to another island? I mean, as a Bermudian, every time I travel, I have to fill out a travel authority to come back to my own country. So we have issues that and it makes no logical sense why we still have it, except somebody must have had a contract to ensure that it went to a certain amount of time, let's say 3 years, and the 3 years are up. So now, you know, it's looking like July 2023 is the date. Well, it makes no sense to me. And one of the things about having made decisions, whether it's through your platform, which apparently is the Bible of the PLP, those platforms are just a vision of what you would like to do. You change as situations change. You don't, Bermudians are not a tick in a box. Oh, we did that one. Let's tick that off on the platform. Perhaps there's something else you want to look at. Perhaps as a consequence of circumstances changing, you have to change what it is you're doing, and it's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to hold up your platform and say this is what we believe in. I mean, politics isn't a religion, even though sometimes they're definitely intertwined when it comes to the PLP. But so in terms of tourism, I think we have a lot to do in tourism. I think the pandemic definitely affected it for sure.
Yeah.
We all know that, but there's a lot that we could do to get ourselves up and running. I mean, the Caribbean is having, landmark numbers coming in, and we're still struggling to not pay the airport the guarantee that we have because we haven't reached the amount of passengers coming through the airport. So we have very serious issues that we have to address in a country that costs us money, and it's still not enough to get rid of a TA.
Yeah, I just want to go back. I know Sherry's got some questions, but I was quite fascinated by the Premier's response last week because, again, this to me, I said, this is a result of the poor job that the One Bermuda Alliance did with making promises in a platform and literally not just not fulfilling stuff, but going against what they said they were going to do, i.e. gaming and absentee ballots, all of that stuff. And now the Premier, and again, I don't know who advises David Byrd as Premier, but literally act as if, one, people who voted for you know what's in your platform. Number two, acting as if, again, it's your Bible, like ticking off that's, and then I said to him, but things change. Like 2020, the middle of a pandemic, we're pretty much hopefully towards the end of it. Like you can't, and I just was honestly taken back by his response because, I think David Byrd, and I've said this numerous times, while I may not like many of his decisions, I don't think he's a dumb guy. I think he's intelligent. But sometimes our intelligence is impacted by those around us and who influence us. And I'm not quite sure I concur with the idea that something written in 2020 still holds weight today. And as you mentioned, same-sex, it's like, well, how are we fulfilling? I remember I lived in a space where it was on spray painted on walls when I was growing up. Basically, people calling Al Frederick Wade every name in the book for the stance he took at an unpopular time. I remember people spray painting it all around my neighborhood, his name, and calling him this name and that name. So to believe you're fulfilling the promise of the people who came before you, I thank you for sharing your word. Sherry, over to you.
Hi. I was going to say, what do you believe are the government's biggest challenges right now?
Well, the economy obviously is the biggest challenge right now. I mean, prices are going up. I think, as you said earlier, Jamal, Linda's said that their increase has been 8%, and because they were able to keep their stock in, they were able to keep the prices down, and that and I'm still surprised at that 2.5 rate that has been reported. It seems to me that inflation is much higher than 2.5, but 2.5 it is. I mean, the rest of the world nobody's under 10%. But Bermuda's under 10%. We're at 2.5%. And you go in the supermarkets, of course, everything seems to be more expensive, but holding down the gas prices apparently helped it. But, if you don't have a car, you don't have a bike, lowering the gas prices makes no difference to you. It's like if you don't have a job, lowering the payroll tax makes no difference to you either. So it's an interesting thing. But I think Bermuda needs a lot of total look at itself. What are we doing as a nation? International business is doing great, but that's because international business is untouchable. Somehow we made some tax agreement that we can't tax them 232. The fairest form of tax, which everybody knows, is income tax. Of course, that's a dirty word in Bermuda, but I look at myself and I think, why should I be paying the same tax rates as a woman who's got 4 children, who's got to feed her children, and we're all paying the same rate? But of course, she would pay more taxes if she buys more food, et cetera. We're a consumer-based economy. So those who are consuming more pay more. That's what consumer-based taxation is all about. So we need to look at our tax system. That's huge, and we set up a committee to look at a tax system. When I say we, the PLP government, I wasn't in the government then. This was under the current premier. They looked at a whole tax issue, recommendations were made, and they weren't implemented. So we do look at things and how we're supposed to change them, but very often it's another huge file in somebody's cupboard that's collecting dust. So we have all sorts of reports that are done on how to fix Bermuda. We have all sorts of reports. Just take them out and start implementing some of the recommendations. And the economy is huge. Crime is huge, but we have to look at why people are resorting to crime and why Black males feel disenfranchised and get involved in, nefarious activities. And there's a lot of things we need to look at as a country. And we touch on them, and they become a topical conversation, but then they disappear again until the next murder happens or the next.
It's the passion behind it, and then nothing moving forward. As you said, we've got all of these reports just sitting there, but what are these reports? Do they have a whole list of things that we should be doing to move forward? But what does the government need to do to address the challenges that Bermuda is facing besides these reports?
They need to start implementing some of the reports, implementing recommendations that will move Bermuda forward. It's not like we don't have, and the answer. Some people say, well, change the government, change the leader. Well, that might be something to look at also, but is that the answer? Will that make a difference? So we have situations here that we need to look at it. I mean, it's very frustrating. Of course, I've lived abroad so long. So when I come here, I love Bermuda. I think it's a beautiful place. I think the people are wonderful. We just need to get our acts together.
And it's, delegates conference. Sorry, go ahead.
And I was saying, and then we have to have qualified leadership to take the people forward so that people understand what it is we need to do. And they understand why it is we're making this decision. We have statistical analysis that say this is the case and this is why we're doing it. We have this percentage of unemployment in the island, and this is why we're putting money in this area. You just need to explain it to people, but you need leaders that know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And that doesn't seem to be the case. We just have a reactionary government.
It's the transparency for me, and I've said that from a long time ago. If you let us know what's, or tell us what's going on, whether we agree with it or not, at least we can see it. But the delegate conference is coming up. Who do you believe should challenge the premier for his seat?
I don't think anybody in particular, but I know people are saying they're going to challenge him. I don't know if that's going to happen. And can I think of anybody in particular who should challenge him? There are some ministers who are great. I'm not saying all of them are bad. The majority definitely are not bad, but they're not informed and they're not educated in politics and economics. That's the majority of them. Do I think the premier will be challenged? Well, according to the conversation, yes, I think he will be challenged, but it remains to be seen. I have 3 people who tell me they're challenging him, so we'll remain to be seen. Chalk is cheap.
Well, I look forward to the fight. Look, we've got some questions from the audience. Folks, if you have any questions or comments for the Honorable Renee Webb, please send them through. Rosalind Famous, she's asking, what kind of solutions can be given to Bermudians to help us learn how to hold politicians accountable or to get the knowledge needed to be better leaders?
That's an excellent question. That's a very good question. I think one of the things that each individual can do is hold their politician accountable, have conversation with them, and make recommendations to them according to the conversations. Like, it doesn't look like you're too swift in economics. Go out and do a course. They got a lot of online courses. It might take you 6 weeks, but at least you'll get an understanding of how your economy works. Or you might say, listen, I don't have a job. How do I improve my skills? They recommend the Bermuda College or whatever it is. Or you might say you need financial assistance. Where do I go? So holding people accountable is actually knowing what it is. I'll give you just an example. I was at the airport yesterday. And one of the things I asked, had the board or the ministers been to visit the airport? Like take a view of, this was with the view of fixing tourism. And the answer was no. Now, when I became minister, the first thing I did, I visited every department that came under me. I met the people. I tried to get an understanding of what it was they're doing, how it works, how things function. How am I going to speak on it if I don't even know how it exists? So for me, that was a natural thing. But one of the things and this was telecommunications, because that was my first portfolio, as you know. So I went to, the techs, I went to the private companies, I went to the Bermuda companies, and the civil servants told me, you are the first minister ever to visit any of the departments. And I was shocked. I thought it would be an automatic thing to do. So it's getting educated, hold them accountable. Are you doing what you're supposed to do? You're making $160,000 plus you got a car, plus you got other perks. How are you spending my money representing me? Because it is the people's money.
Indeed. We've got Carla John. She's asking, other than education in politics and economics, what other skills do you think politicians should have?
Well, thanks for that question, Carla, as well. I think one of the things that I indicated, people skills is a plus, but they have to be educated in the fields that I mentioned. And obviously, persons, great. You know, you have some politicians who go to people's houses, and they don't necessarily have the wherewithal in terms of running government, even though they could be in the cabinet, but they at least go to people's houses. So you have some politicians who are the ones that go and visit the hills and dales of people, and some people don't do that because they're more national. They do it sometimes, but not as actively as some politicians, and that's a plus as well. So I think people skills, the ability to interact with people, visit your constituents. People do that when they're canvassing to get votes, but do they do it when people are in need, etc.? So if you look at, Bermuda is a very unique place. We're small. You get to know your politician. You can call them up. You can go and see them. I don't think a politician will not see you, not if they want to get your vote in the next election. So I think the people should be more engaging of politicians and let them know what the expectations are, what their expectations are. And it tends to be one way. When I was a politician, I rarely got calls from people in need. Well, of course, Bermuda was in a different place in terms of economically as well. So there's a lot that can be done. And I think that people should hold their MPs accountable.
We've got Renee Simmons. She says, is there any way you can give this premier some guidance? He refused Sir John Swan. Maybe some stalwarts are required.
I can assure you, Renee, that I do reach out with the premier and I do give him guidance. The question is, will the premier listen to anybody's guidance, including mine?
And Nicole Walker says, economy aside, the biggest challenge of the government is gaining and retaining the confidence of the people who voted them in by demonstrating that their actions are in the best interest of the majority. Well, as a person who has run in elections, as a person who has been a minister, a sitting MP, what do you think, or when do you think the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party, because those first years, I remember one of the biggest things that changes that seemed fair that every Bermudian should have cheered on at the time was the one man, one vote. That to me was just historic. But where do you think things shifted, like things changed? What period from 1998 to now did things change where maybe Bermudians lost that confidence in the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party in particular?
I think probably around, in terms of years, I would probably say 2002. From about 2002 on, I think things got very challenging. Things became challenging. And the Progressive Labour Party believes that PLP all the way, PLP. That's where we part ways. I've always said I believe in Bermuda all the way, Bermuda. Put that as your mantra. Every time you start a meeting in the PLP, any caucus meetings, etc., you always say PLP all the way, PLP. Well, the mindset of that is that the party comes first at all costs before the country. And that causes issues. It causes issues. Bermuda should be first. Bermuda all the way, Bermuda. You would never find me saying PLP all the way. Even when I was a government minister, I refused to say it. I said it should be Bermuda all the way. That fell on deaf ears, of course. But the point is that we need to start looking out for our Bermuda people. That's it. We need to understand what it is they really need, and don't just look at some paper that somebody gives you. A civil servant makes a recommendation and you implement it without knowing, and you take it to Parliament and it becomes law without knowing the history behind it, why we're doing it, what's going to be the end result, what is the end result I want to achieve if I take this measure and I make this a law. How is it going to affect people's lives? We're talking about people's lives you're affecting on a personal and intimate, and sometimes intimate level. So the point is, you need to look at how you are going to benefit your people. Do I think the PLP is doing a good job in some area? I mean, definitely in the pandemic, I think that was handled well. Some issues are different, they're doing reasonably well on, and others failing. So yeah, we have to find a balance in how we improve our politicians and hold them accountable. And people would say, well, you were a politician. Yes, but I held myself accountable. And that was very important to me. I held myself accountable in terms of what it was I needed to do for my people and why it was I got elected in the first place. I always knew I was going to be a member of parliament. I didn't need to be. I didn't need it for the money, and some people in it for the money. I didn't need it for the prestige. I was living my life comfortably overseas, and in Paris actually, and I always said I'm going to be a member of parliament since I was in my 3rd year at the Berkeley Institute. And that was when the PLP lost the election. And one of my classmates wept and cried. And that was when I truly got an understanding of how politics can affect people's lives. Because my mother always told me, listen, you're bright, you have to go up on the hill, she used to say, and straighten out those people. That's what she told me when I was little. So for me, it was always a part of my destiny that I'm going to be a politician and I'm going to help my Bermudian people. And of course, you have to associate with the party. And at that time, the PLP, because I'm a social person, I come from a working class family. So they boded well with me more so than the UBP at the time. That was more for business, etc. I didn't think they represented me as an individual or Black people. So I went with the PLP. Do I have any regrets? No, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Indeed. All right. I'm almost out of time, but I have a question. But Rick Olson actually has a question. He's asking, what sitting MP do you believe would make the best premier?
Oh, Rick, that's a sticky question. And is that a fair question to answer? Okay, who are the potentials? Curtis. I think Curtis would make a good premier. I think Kim Wilson would make an excellent premier. Listen, the question isn't who the premier is. The question is the premier going to be capable of leading and taking Bermuda forward to where it needs to be? And I mean, to say that we're bereft of people to be leaders, which is what people say. Well, we want to replace David, but who are you going to put there? Yeah. And I'm thinking it's a sad state in your country if you don't have, out of 30 members of parliament, you don't have anybody to replace the premier. What if he dies tomorrow? I mean, what is that about? So yes, I think there are people, but the important thing, Jamal, is to surround yourself with people who know more than you. You are not the brightest person in the room. Never assume it. And if you assume you're the brightest person in the room, get out of the room.
Yep.
You just don't need to be in the room. That's the first thing. So you could be a not so strong leader, but you surround yourself with people who know more than you and who can help you in the various areas. And you don't become the one guy who knows it all.
That's called leadership.
That is leadership.
So final question is, what's the one solution, just one solution you would give to David Burt for the biggest challenge Bermuda faces today?
In terms of the economy, or listen to people who know more than you. You have groups that have been set up and boards that are set up to help you in your endeavors as leader. Listen to people. Surround yourself with bright people. Get a kitchen cabinet. It doesn't have to be your cabinet that is sitting in parliament. It could be a kitchen cabinet, people who are expert in statistics, in economics, in politics, who can tell you how to handle yourself, how to be more amenable to people. There's a lot of areas. So in terms of what I would tell David, start listening to people who know more than you and surround yourself with people who know more than you so that we can move forward with a stronger economy, a stronger country for the betterment of Bermudians. There are a lot of bright people in this country. You're not the only one. So that would be my advice. Surround yourself with people who know more than you and who can help you. So in terms of who could be the new leader, Rick, whoever the leader is, they have to have the wherewithal and the knowledge to know I need to surround myself with people who know more than me, and they're not necessarily in the civil service, obviously.
The Honorable Renee Webb, thank you. And I really would love for you to come back and speak more about your political career and where you are now. So I definitely would love to have you back sometime. We would love to have you back sometime to speak more in depth about that, because I think there's stories to be told. and thank you for your frankness this morning about your personal life, which you didn't have to share, but to give people a better understanding of why you joined and what you still have to offer. Maybe not as an elected official, but just as someone, what Bermudians, I think someone commented, Renee Simmons, as someone who can offer our current leaders guidance, because it seems like much of that is needed. So thank you once again. And please, I'll probably be sending you an email here and there. Please find the time to just say, hey, Jamal.
Yeah, I'll have fun. Well, I'll have time to say hey to you and hey to Bermuda as well. But thanks for having me. I had no clue. You never talked to me about what you were going to talk to. And I thought about it this morning. I said, I wonder what's the conversation going to be on? Yeah. It wasn't hard to guess you probably go down this path.
Right.
No, honestly, I appreciate you, and you are welcome back anytime. So wonderful. They enjoyed you. They enjoyed you, and we went over time. We usually only do this with the important people. I'm joking, folks.
Yeah.
We go over with the conversation that the audience is into it. But I honestly appreciate your time, and we're definitely we'd like to have you back sometime too.
It would be a pleasure to come back anytime. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Right. The Honorable Renee Webb, folks, if you appreciated that conversation, found it helpful, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do a giveaway after this. We're going to do a giveaway because you all have been such a good audience today. We're going to do a giveaway. We'll come back.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, they did. Seriously, you all love yourself, the Honorable Renee Webb, and we love her too. So we're going to do a giveaway. We'll wrap it up and we'll give the daily play after this break. Do not go anywhere.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right. Thanks again to the Honorable Renee Webb for stopping by. I asked her, she'll tell you, I asked her about 2 years ago to come on, and sometimes it works like that, and I appreciate her, giving us the time, coming on and having such a frank conversation. We don't usually get those frank conversations. The only other person I can remember having such a frank conversation with was the Honorable former PLP leader, Mark Bean. But that said, we're going to do a giveaway. Thanks again to the Honorable Renee. If you appreciate the conversation, give us a thumbs up, love, like, but don't forget to share these conversations in your network. Thanks again to People's Pharmacy, One Communications, Medical House, Linda's. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. But before that, have you registered to be a part of the TDH community yet? If you have not, what are you waiting for? Go on our website, sign up today to enjoy the benefits and activities, as well as the events that we have going on throughout the year. To be a part of it, just go on the website, click the page, and put your information. All right, Sherry, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, it's a remember when. This should be easy. It's about one of our favorite young ladies. Bermuda's Katora Horton parent chief made history by becoming the first Black female diver to compete in the Olympic Games in what year?
I can't wait. Was it 2018?
What?
2019?
What?
I know this. 20.
I don't want to do this to Katora, but do you know how old Katora Horton parent chief is?
She's young.
What
Ain't
do you think is young?
Just like ain't she in her 30s?
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay. 2004? Okay.
Yeah, someone said 2000s.
I didn't know. I knew that if you would have asked me the question the opposite way, I could give you her name. Like who was any person, but sorry.
yeah.
I didn't remember the year. I knew it was Olympics. I knew it was diving. I knew she was the first.
Folks, while Sherry and I wrap it up, you can hashtag the Daily Hour. That's your giveaway. Hashtag today. You already know what it's going to be. Hashtag the Daily Hour for your chance to win today's. We're going to do travel mug today. Sherry, final thoughts on today's show. Bermudians focusing on U.S. versus Bermuda politics, as well as the conversation with the Honorable Renee Webb. What's your thoughts?
Definitely, as I spoke earlier, that it's not so much a focus on the U.S., but what the U.S. has left behind in regards to how it pertains to Bermuda and our issues. And we definitely need to focus on those and not just be passionate about it, but do some work behind it for these issues to have some type of resolution. As far as the Honorable Renee Webb, it was a pleasure just sitting back here listening to her. Be so transparent, being so frank, and finally feel like, okay, no, I get it. Now I understand. She just brought some normalcy to this. You was able to get it out for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's start up though. But regarding the early part, I think she summed it up as well. We have to build up the courage to care about Bermudian issues the way we do U.S. issues. I'll leave that right there. Mm-hmm. As it pertains to the Honorable Renee Webb, I will say this much. I don't think it's so much about criticizing those at work. It's really about holding those at work accountable and wanting a better Bermuda. I don't believe that we're getting the best value for our vote. And if it were money, if you were spending money, you all know you'd be on Madge's list or whatever list every day complaining about not getting great value. We need better value for our votes if we're going to continue to vote the way in which we've traditionally voted. So I appreciate her candidness. Folks, I meant what I said about the premier to the premier last week. I want David Burt to do well. But you know why I got emotional? And she touched on it today. Got emotional because this is not on the premier and the government. This is on the people. People, you all need to learn how to fight. And fight for what you deserve, not for what you want. Let's go to the giveaway, Sherry. You want to do the inspirational giveaway? Let's do the giveaway first.
Let's do the giveaway first.
Because they're hungry. They're doing it. Let's see what we got. All right.
Big money, no lemons.
Who's the winner? Who's today's winner? Mark Arthur C. Phillips. All right. I don't think he's won something before. Congratulations, really? Mark. Yeah, as much as he comments, I don't think he has won before. So congratulations, Cousin Mark. Please send us an email to engage@thedailyhour.com so we can get you your winnings. You are today's winner, folks. Thank you so much for playing. Sherry, you've got some inspiration for the audience?
I do. Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. Booker T. Washington.
I like that. That's a good one there. Booker T. Status. Sherry, it's time to say it. But thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Linda's, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a safe and great day. And Sherry's mug is glued back together. You all didn't catch that yesterday, but I saw it. Cheers.